Welcome back to the Communicate Without Criticism course. This is lesson number 3. And for lesson number 3, we're going to talk about skill number 3, which is acknowledging their intentions. Specifically acknowledging another's good intentions. Now, the concept behind this skill is just understanding that for all of us, there are times when our intentions do not land. We have cognitive biases. There's a bias called the fundamental attribution error in psychology. And basically what it means is we have a tendency to notice when other people behave badly. Imagine we see somebody yelling at somebody in the grocery store. We think, wow, they must be a mean person or an angry person. But if we yell in a public place or lose our temper in a public place, we think, wow, I've been having a really hard day. Right? So we attribute bad character to other people for their bad behavior, but we attribute circumstances to ourselves for our bad behavior. That's the fundamental attribution error. And the reality is that there have been times for all of us where we've had good intentions and our good intentions did not land. We've tried to make a joke and it came off as offensive. Something happened where we tried to do something good. We bring somebody flowers and it turns out they're allergic. You know, we had good intentions and it didn't go across well or come across well or land. So, can we momentarily, we're trying to communicate without criticism, we're trying to communicate in a way that connects with people. Can we momentarily set aside our judgment and think, maybe they had good intentions and I just don't fully understand? So can we reach into the other person's heart and find the good intentions there? Sometimes our intentions can be the exact opposite of what we intended. I will share a story. When I was in high school, I went with a church group to Mexico to build a house in Mexico for a church to make available to people in need. And we were driving through this avenue. There were all these trees on both sides. And the driver of the van was driving, and we all saw it's a van full of teenagers. We saw this squirrel run across the road, and the driver swerved to try to avoid hitting the squirrel. And because he swerved, the squirrel stopped and turned around and ran the other way and went right under the wheel. And everybody in the van, we gasped. We couldn't believe it. But how incredible was it that the driver's intention was to not hit the squirrel? He swerved specifically to avoid hitting the squirrel. But in his swerving, that caused the squirrel to turn and go right under the wheel. So there are so many times where our intentions are actually the exact opposite of what happens, of what the impact of our actions are. So with that understanding, when somebody hurts us, we say, hey, when you did this thing, I felt hurt, although I know you never intended for me to feel that way. Although I know your intentions were good. I'm not saying you had bad intentions. I know your intentions were good. And I credit one of my teachers, James Fish Gill, for this lesson. He goes by the name Fish, James Gill. And I credit him with this lesson because I first learned nonviolent communication from Dr. Marshall Rosenberg, and then I took a course with James Gill. And he added this to his communication, to conscious communication that he teaches. So I added this phrase in. I think it's very helpful to acknowledge when people have good intentions. Acknowledge that they have a good heart. Even some of the people who I can be very critical of who are emotionally immature. They have good intentions, even though they can be very hurtful and immature in the way that they act, and they don't extend the same consideration to you. But even there might be good intentions in their heart. So, and I often tell people, look, if you really don't think that somebody had good intentions, then just forget about it and go seek revenge. But what's revenge going to get you? It's not going to get you your own happiness. It's not going to get you your own peace, right? So I'm happy to talk about that as well, right? I'm in no way am I moralizing or judging. I'm not judging you if you want revenge. If you think that somebody had bad intentions, maybe they did. But if you want to communicate without criticism, just add in this little phrase, although I know you never intended for me to feel that way. Empathy, when we can look into somebody else's heart and find the goodness in their heart, that increases connection. And when people think that you don't acknowledge, if somebody had good intentions and you refuse to acknowledge their good intentions, they will fight to have their good intentions acknowledged. So good intentions does not excuse bad behavior, but anybody will want to have their good intentions acknowledged. So just acknowledge it. Although, hey, I was hurt, although I know you never intended to hurt me. If this is your partner who you love, if this is your partner who you love and committed your life to, do you really think they intended to hurt you? Or do you have a relationship where that you're not honest about your intentions? I have witnessed couples where they actually do intend to hurt each other sometimes, but they will be honest about it. Yeah, I meant to hurt you because you hurt me and I wanted to hurt you back. Okay, well, there's honesty there. Is your relationship such that you think your partner wanted to hurt you and won't be honest about it? What kind of relationship is that? Your relationship needs some real help. If your partner wants to hurt you and won't be honest about it, that relationship is in trouble. You need some help. So for the vast majority of people watching this, who you have a partner who has a good heart, can you acknowledge their good intentions when they hurt you? Hey, that hurt. Ouch, that hurt. And I know that you never intended to hurt me because I know you love me. That will go a long way in your communication. So the chances are, if you can do that, they can hear you. They will do a better job of hearing you. If you want to be heard, acknowledge their good intentions, and you have a better chance of being heard and getting your need to be heard met. So what does this look like? Well, when you put it together, you say, when observable behavior happens, I feel hurt. I feel whatever you feel, although I know you never intended for me to feel that way. And I feel this way because I have a need for, fill in your need. Will you please fill in your request? So with that, we'll go on to lesson number 4.